and welcome to another episode in my Learning Photoshop series of videos. Today we're going to take a photograph like this one, or a piece of artwork, and mount it in a cool looking frame like this. Now we're going to give it some cool light effects, give it that 3D effect and a little bit of a drop shadow as well. Oh, and as well we're going to put it in a mount, so we're going to show you how to put this little rebate in the middle. Okay, well, let's make a start. Right, well, first we need a canvas to work on. So I'm going to open a new document. So I'm going to go up to the File menu and New. We'll choose International Paper and I'll set A4. And then click OK. Now, it's obviously the wrong way around. I'd like it to be landscape. So we're going to rotate it. So I'm going to go to Image and Image Rotation and 90 degrees clockwise. And there we are. We're at least facing the right way now. Okay, we're going to add a new layer. Each of the things we're going to be doing, you're much better keeping it on a separate layer. So we're going to add a new layer, new blank layer. And we're going to draw two rectangles now. And this is going to be exactly where you want the frame to be. So I'm going to go to the rectangular marquee tool and click on that. And then I'm going to go into the corner somewhere there. I'm going to click and drag to the bottom corner until you get it about right. Just eyeball it and then let go. And that's the outside of the frame. So we're now going to fill that with black, and a good keyboard shortcut for filling from your foreground colour, which we can see here at the moment is black, so that's good, is Alt and Backspace. Right, we can now get rid of that marching ants with Control and D. And we now want to make the inside of the frame. So we're going to do it exactly the same way. Rectangular marquee tool. Line up how far or how thick you want the frame to be. Click and drag and just eyeball it till it looks good and let go. So this is the inside of the frame. So all I want to do is delete everything that's in the middle of this. So I'm just going to press the delete key or the backspace key and then Control and D to get rid of that. So here we've now got the bones of our frame, but it does look a bit boring. I'd like to get some edge definition to it and a little bit of shading. So that's what we're going to do next. Right, so I'm going to use the polygonal lasso tool because I need to make a selection now. We'll start with this right hand corner, and what I'm going to do is make a selection that cuts through these 2 points. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to start up here and click and then come right through at 45 degrees, and it doesn't matter where you finish so long as you've cut through that joint. Click a bit further down, click there, and then back to where we started. Now what I want is just this area selecting of the frame. So I'm going to use a neat little trick really. It's called intersect, and there's a keyboard shortcut for it, and we're going to hold down the Shift, the Control and the Alt key. It's called the finger mash. You've got to get all 3 fingers on it all together, and then we're going to click on the thumbnail here, and if I click on that, you'll see it just brings us back to the intersection between the selection we had and the selection that's on here. Now that's good, that's exactly what we want. So now I'm going to fill that with a gradient. Now, so if we go over here, we can select the gradient tool, or we can press G on the keyboard. We want a linear gradient, which is this first little one here, and we want the first gradient that's black and white. So it's the 3rd gradient along here. I'm going to click on that one and click OK. So that's us all set up. So now I'm going to click and drag across here to put my gradient within this selection, but I'd like to make sure that it's in a straight line. So I'm going to hold the Shift key down while I drag. So I've got the Shift key down now. I click and drag and let go, and that puts me in a nice little gradient. I can deselect now, don't need that. Oh, has anybody spotted the deliberate mistake I've just made? You weren't watching, were you? okay, I should have done that on a new layer. So just a minute, let's do edit and undo a couple of times, edit and step backward until we get to there, and then I'll make a new layer. You're going to have to watch a bit closer, you know. Right, now we'll go again, Shift Control Alt and click. We'll get the gradient tool, black and white, hold the Shift key down, click and drag and let go. There we go. And then we'll deselect. If I don't make another layer, you will tell me, won't you? Right, okay. So now it's a little bit in my face, so what I'm going to do is drop the opacity a little bit. If I drop the opacity, that will just fade that in right nicely and just give the effect that we've got a 45-degree picture frame edge. Okay, I'm good with that. Right, now I'm going to make a new layer. See, I remembered this time. I'm going to make a new layer, and we're going to try this side on the left hand side. So again, we're going to use the polygonal lasso tool, cut through that corner, along, back, and then back to the start and click. Finger mash, Shift Control Alt and click. G for gradient tool, hold the Shift key down, click and drag. That's perfect. Control and D to get rid of that, and then just drop the opacity a little bit. Now I'll put a double edger at this side. So new layer, polygonal lasso tool. I'm going to try and come through exactly the same line, there and down, and then finger mash, click, G for gradient, hold the Shift. I think you're getting the hang of this, aren't you? You don't need me to keep saying it, do you? Then Control and D, and then we'll just drop the opacity a little bit. Quite like that look. And I've deliberately made it not quite perfect, because no frame is perfect, is it? So I think it gives it an air of realism, that. Right, okay. Another layer, we'll go another one. And we'll do polygonal lasso tool again. We'll do it down at this bottom corner. No, that's not quite right. I'm going to press the escape key just to get rid of that. I'm going to click, try and get it right through them corners. Finger mash. Oops, just a minute. Press the escape key if that happens. My finger mash and click. Gradient tool, Shift key, and a quick drag. And then we'll drop it off with the opacity. Okay, I think we'll have another one over in the right hand bottom corner. So another layer. Just cut right through that corner. And then just drop the opacity of that corner off. Okay, I think we're cooking with gas here. I think this looks pretty good. Now I want to merge all these layers together into one. So I'm going to click on the top layer here. I'm going to hold the Shift key down, click on the bottom layer, and then from this panel flyout menu here, I'm going to choose Merge Layers. And that'll merge it all down, but leave me with my transparency. Right, now I want to give it a little bit of a 3D effect now. So for that I'm going to use a blending option. And for that I'm going to go down, and at the bottom of the layers panel we've got the FX button. I'm going to click on that and select blending options. And the one I want is drop shadow. Now the drop shadow itself, you can see it's this little bit around the outside, and it's actually put it on the inside of here as well. It gives it that little 3D look. Well, I prefer it. It looks as though it's coming from the right hand side, the light at the minute. Well, I prefer it from the left. So I'm going to use this angle slider. And I'm going to click on that and drag it round. And now you'll see the shadows coming at this side and the internal shadows coming at that side, which is what I want. And you can play around with these sliders, the distance and the spread, until you get a shadow that you're happy with. Just as a point, I don't know, but what you can actually do, you can move it with the sliders, but if you go and click on it, you can actually move it with the mouse and position it exactly where you want it. I think that's pretty cool. I like that. Okay, I'm going to click OK to accept that. Now I've got my frame, I need my image. So I'm going to go and fetch my image. I'm going to use the move tool to get the image in. I'm going to click and drag over the tab, pause till the frame comes to the front, keep my finger on that mouse button, drag it back and let it go. Now it looks a little bit small, so I'm going to Control and T to transform it. Hold the Shift key down, make sure it does it in proportion, and just drag it out till it's a bit bigger. Double click to accept it, and then reposition it somewhere like that. I think that looks good. Now I want the little bit of a mat around the outside, give it a look of a rebate like you'd have if you had a mount. So I'm going to do that on a new layer. But this time I'll show you a little keyboard shortcut. I'd like the new layer in between. If I click the new layer button now, it'll always put the layer at the top, and then I've just got to drag it underneath. But if you hold the Control key down and click the new layer icon, it'll put it underneath the active layer, so it just sticks it underneath, so it just saves you dragging it. Right, and on this one now I want a little bit of white. I need something, basically all this white blob is just something to anchor an effect to. So I'm going to get my Marquee tool, and I'll get just near the edge in the corner, drag it round and let go. And then I'm going to fill that with white. And white is my background colour, so the keyboard shortcut for that is Control and Backspace will fill from background colour. And that, if you look at the layers panel, you'll see you have got like a white square now that we can anchor an effect to. So don't need them marching ants. So I'm going to now go back to the FX panel and into blending options, but this time I'm going to use the stroke, and you can see I've put a little stroke around the outside now. You can play with the dimension, but it really wants to be, I think, faded out, so you want the smallest size, and maybe even drop the opacity a little bit just so you can see it. Of course, colour's black, that's good. And then I click OK. Well, this is coming along tickety-boo here. I think we just need to finish it off with some text. So I'm going to go for my text tool, and I'm going to click anywhere, and I'll type a title. What about You've Been Framed? I think I'd like to change the spacing between these letters a little bit if I can. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to swipe across it to select it, and I'm going to hold the Alt key down and press the left or the right arrow keys, and for that you can alter the tracking. So I'll just make that a little bit bigger, I think, something like that. I like that. And then again press the Enter key to accept that. Now I think the final thing is to line everything up, because at the moment the text and this and the frame, they're not exactly precisely lined up. So I'm going to do that with the Move tool. Now if I go over to the Move tool, you'll see in the tool options bar for the Move tool there's loads of symbols here, but they're all greyed out. If I click on them, nothing happens. And that's because the Move tool's saying, well, you haven't asked me to do anything, you haven't given me anything to align. These are the alignment options. So let's give it something to align. So I'm going to select all the layers I want aligning. So I'm going to click on the top layer, and I'm going to come down to the bottom layer on this layer 6, and shift and click, and that selects all the layers in between. And then you'll see these options now become live. And the one I want is aligned to the center, this one. So if I click on that, everything now will jump in perfect alignment. Well, that's it. How to make a neat picture frame to frame your pictures or artwork. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget, look on my website for other free resources, kenfisherphotography.com, or my YouTube channel, Livelink Training. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.